in the high desert in the great American Southwest.
Welcome to Coast AM. John, welcome to the program. Good to have you with us. You're with us.
Welcome to Coast PM, the #1 unofficial Coast AM podcast. This is a podcast where two brothers analyze the world's largest overnight paranormal radio show, known as Coast AM. My name is Paul, and I'm the guy that listens to this inexplicable radio show here with my brother.
Hey, it's Chris. I'm the Belisarius to your Justinian, except we didn't reconquer the Western Roman Empire.
I have no idea what that one is. You have officially lost me.
I stumped you.
You stumped me.
I stumped you. Well, this isn't a history podcast. If you care, look it up. Learn a little history.
How long ago was that?
That's Byzantium.
Oh my God. All right. Well, Chris, today we're going to be talking about something that is actually even more ancient than that reference. You like that segue? Was that good?
Loved it. Loved
Was
it.
that good?
Keep going.
We're going to be talking about shadow people.
Shadow? What the heck is a shadow person?
So shadow people as a phenomena was actually coined on Coast to Coast AM back in 2001. But the people that believe it and research it have said that they have been with us since the beginning of time, Chris.
Okay. But so that's kind of crazy. This is a phenomenon labeled by Coast to Coast.
It's entirely created by Coast to Coast. It exists almost exclusively within the Coast to Coast cinematic universe, to be completely honest.
That's incredible. Okay, so go. What exactly is a shadow person?
All right, so a shadow person, and well, today we're going to be listening to an interview with Heidi Hollis, who's a shadow person expert, and she's being interviewed by George Noory on June 6th of 2021. Now, shadow people, fairly recently, she is on like every 6 months. Shadow people are negative entities that have been around since the beginning of time, like I said, and have a very dark influence upon society. These shadow beings appear as shadows, so you can think of them literally as a person made of shadows that you wake up at the foot of your bed, something like that.
Right.
And they really don't like being spotted. So oftentimes people will wake up and discover that they're being choked by a shadow person or strangled in some way, or the shadow person is like lurking over them as they were sleeping.
Okay.
Now we're also going to hear about Hat Man. Hat Man is a type of shadow person that wears a hat and is in charge of shadow people. And we'll dig into some of the shadow people taxonomy as well. There's a lot of different types of shadows.
Like the Slenderman?
Different from Slender Man. From Slender Man. More like Babadook.
Babadook. That's who I was thinking of. Babadook.
It's quite literally.
Dude. These are going to be spooky.
These are spooky stories. And we're also going to hear from some callers who have experienced shadow people in their own lives.
Oh, my God.
From them as well. This is all part of our Spooktober. So if you're a new listener, we are all spooky for all of October. And really excited to bring you a Shadow People episode today.
Yeah, dude, this is going to be spooky. I'm going to have nightmares tonight.
It's going to be spooky. But before we get to that, spook, Chris...
Hat Man is such a subtly horrifying name. I'm Hat Man. Well, that's lame. Wait a minute. What?
Well, and it's so insidious as well. It's so simple, but so terrifying. Just a man with a hat staring at you.
6 letters.
Got him. Six. So anyway, 6.
It's officially Tim time.
It is Tim time. So let's go check out the Coast to Coast AM blog. And then we'll check in with Heidi Hollis and Shadow People. So today's Gold's blog post from our friend Tim Banal, Chris.
Yes. Friend of the pod.
Fiji's education minister issues warning about Charlie divination game.
Oh, divination game. Mm-hmm. That's very fun. What? Okay, so let's go.
The education minister of Fiji recently issued a rather strange word of warning regarding students playing a Ouija-like divination game known as Charlie. According to
Interesting name for a game, Charlie.
And according to a what, Chris? Local media report.
Perfect.
The odd proclamation came about last week following an incident wherein 10 children from the Vito Primary School were sent home after they were caught partaking in the practice, which involves using a pair of balanced pencils to summon spirits and communicate with them.
I wonder what it is about the pencils that are really doing it for the ghosts.
I think there's some weird way that you can put pencils against each other and then they like balance on the table. And then that's, I don't think anything about that actually brings ghosts, but I do remember playing that game when I was a kid.
It's just a cool thing. And the ghosts are like, oh, snap.
Whoa, crazy kids.
And then that brings them, and then you get to talk to them.
Exactly. So while some might see the divination game as some lighthearted fun, particularly around this time of year, Spooktober, Charlie has been banned in Fijian schools. So officials in the country took the matter very seriously.
Dude, is this just like a TikTok thing?
No, I don't think this is a TikTok thing. I think this is just a game that elementary school kids play. Like I played this.
Yeah.
It's like, like the where you fold the thing and like the paper to a fortune teller. It's like that.
Why are they thinking that this is divination?
I don't, we'll get there. All right. So
all right.
In response to the incident last week, which also saw some of the students pretending to be possessed by the spirits that they were summoning, the educator minister Pramila Kumar cautioned pupils and parents that anyone caught playing Charlie would be sent home immediately and face subsequent disciplinary action. So the kids were literally pretending to be possessed when they were doing
this. My God.
Which is awesome.
Dude, that sounds like a TikTok thing.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
That sounds like a TikTok thing.
That also, here's the thing, though, is that I would have done that. I would have pretended to be possessed.
Yeah.
I could totally see this happening. So, quote, "We need to protect the children, and we don't want to create fear in our young ones and render them too frightened to go to school." In a testament to how the divination game is perceived in the country, Kumar indicated that the counselors would be available to students traumatized by the event and that, quote, "church ministers are involved, helping the school to deal with such matters."
Holy crap. So they're like super religious on Fiji.
Apparently very religious because they're all terrified about these kids pretending to be possessed, which is kind of funny.
Playing with pencils.
Yeah. And apparently this has been around for a bit. So
it's like we can't even give Americans children pencils anymore. They wouldn't know what to do with them. They're like, where's the screen? Where's the screen?
So the banning of Charlie actually came about in 2015, Chris, when a spate of incidents at various schools throughout Fiji sparked something of a panic, with the media decrying the demonic divination game and one government official declaring that it is associated with cult activities. The furor was so intense that 3 teachers were even accused of forcing children to partake in the practice, even though they were later cleared of any criminal charges. In light of the hysteria.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
Fiji in this game, and it was like in the 1400s in like Central Europe, there was a dance madness, and people just went out into the streets and danced for hours and like days. Sometimes people actually died from exhaustion from dancing so much. No one has any idea what caused this.
I don't know, man. This one is just kids
probably
being kids.
The same ghost playing the pencil game.
Could be the same demon spirits, actually. So Fiji's doing the right thing by protecting their children.
We just didn't have a whole bunch of pencils back in the 1400s.
We didn't have enough pencils. People didn't know how to write.
They're like, dancing.
We have to dance. So in light of the hysteria 7 years ago, it is understandable why Kumar would try to get ahead of another Charlie outbreak. Is that understandable?
It's not.
I don't know if that's understandable.
This is inexplicable to me.
The reaction is very inexplicable.
This is inexplicable.
Although it's rather predictable that the students would be drawn to the forbidden game as they've been told not to play. That one makes sense.
Man, I used to think I wanted to go to Fiji. I don't think I want to go to Fiji anymore, dude. They're pretty wild.
Are you no longer into Fiji?
I am. No, they're a mad people.
You know,
Fijians.
Just don't float your pencils together, and then you're good to go.
I'm not drinking their water either. It's overpriced, anyways. Water's free, you turkeys. You just go outside and grab it.
It is. Well, that was our Tim Corner today, Christopher. So let's go ahead.
Wonderful Tim time.
Let's jump into our interview with Heidi Hollis from June 6th, 2021. So we're going to begin, Chris, with shadow people. So like I said, this was coined on Coast to Coast AM. Art Bell interviewed a Native American.
I'm amazed by this. I'm amazed that Coast to Coast started this thing.
It did. So Art Bell interviewed a Native American elder named Thunderstrikes in 2001. Important note here.
Good name.
Yeah, important note. Alleged Native American. I don't think anyone's ever actually met this guy.
No way.
Yeah, he just called into a radio show and said his name's Thunderstrike.
Yeah, I'm Native American. Thunderstrike.
I'm Standing Bear, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure. It's like
Rumbling Earthquake.
He just watched Dancing with Wolves, and that inspired the name. So
you can call me Tatanka.
Thunderstrike discussed shadow people, and they also had callers write in with pictures of their own shadow people that they've seen. At this point, Art got a little bit obsessed and started doing calls about this whole time. So Heidi,
he's like, dude, Art can't believe it because he's like, I have uncovered something. I bet that got him so excited.
He got very jazzed. And Heidi Hollis, later that year after the interview with Thunderstrike, published a book on shadow people, although she claims she wrote it in 1997 and published it in 2001. So she says that she coined the term shadow people, although there's not a ton of evidence for that.
Okay. Yeah, right. Oh, I wrote this 4 years ago. I just never published it.
Yeah, exactly. So she's
way before Art Bell.
Way before. So she's been a frequent guest on Coast to Coast ever since, and even has her own podcast on Coast to Coast AM's podcast network.
George liked it a little bit that she tried to stick it to Art, huh?
Yeah, George loves her. Loves her. Big fan.
Big fan, huh? Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So jumping into the interview, Chris, the pandemic brought a lot of shadow people out. It's been causing some issues.
Well, I got to tell you, Heidi, I'm getting so many emails over the last couple of months about entities and strange things. I mean, what's going on?
You know what? I saw it coming as soon as I knew and understood what this pandemic was going to bring. These dark things are going to take advantage of everybody. I mean, people are sick, they're depressed, they lost their jobs, they're losing their homes, people are dying. Of course, these things are going to be feeding upon all of this strife that's going on out there. So, it's really sad. It's really disturbing.
So shadow people are feeding off our darkness.
It's just an evil buffet out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just eating up plates and plates of suffering and depression and anger.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's two ways of looking at this, right? Heidi's way of looking at shadow people is, number one, they're these demonic entities who feed off of people, right? They feed off your soul. They feed off your energy. Therefore, when a pandemic hits, obviously all this bad stuff is happening, losing your job, people are dying in your family. So they're going to show up more often. Now, another way of looking at this is that shadow people are actually the results of things like night terrors or stress-based hallucinations.
Yes.
And at which point there is going to be an increased likelihood of you witnessing these things because you are having so much difficulty. Like we discussed last time on our Ghost to Ghost episode with my ghost story, I did see a ghost, but I think it was because I hadn't been sleeping for like 3 days.
Right.
So that's the skeptic hat.
But kind of like our Dr. Masters, what we need to do is look at a bunch of case studies.
Check out our case studies.
Let's take a look at some case studies.
Let's do it, because for the month of October, Chris, I actually said I wasn't going to be skeptical, so I take back what I just said. And let's jump into what shadow people are with Heidi's definition.
Okay.
Heidi, give me your definition, first of all, of the shadow people.
Well, shadow people are something that it's like absent of light is how people tend to describe it. So they could take on different forms. It could be a shadow streak, shadow cloud, shadow rodent, which you've seen.
That's right. I saw many of those.
Yeah, they kind of scurry along. And, these shadow streaks, too, people think like a bat was in their place or something, like just so rather solid, flying through the air, or a big moth. And then there's the shadow spiders. I had the worst experiences with those personally.
Shadow spiders? Can they get any creepier?
So there's a lot of different types of shadows here, Chris.
Yeah. So anything can be a shadow.
Anything can be a shadow. So on her website, HeidiHollis.com, she actually has a full taxonomy of shadows.
Okay.
So
what kind of shadows do we have here?
So it all starts with the head and shoulders shadow. This is the most classic depiction. You can think of it as literally a head with shoulders, and then it just goes straight down, and it's just a shadow with red eyes, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Then there is the shadow cloud, which is a cloud that drifts around, and it's a shadow. Now, I believe that these are basically just shadows, from what I can tell.
Okay,
it's just
got it.
A shadow that moves.
Okay.
There are shadow spheres. These are balls of shadow that actually lift you up out of your bed.
Whoa. Don't like that.
Yeah, they'll surround you and you'll go like full exorcist and just start rising up.
Don't want that one.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going. What else?
Then we have shadow streaks. Now, quoting directly from Heidi Hollis's website, sometimes you may think you saw a bug fly past you, no matter what the season is, only to realize you don't see it again. It's winter, or it moved too quickly and just out of view. That's a shadow streak.
That's a shadow streak.
Not a bug. It's a shadow.
It's a shadow streak.
It's definitely a shadow.
These are people who just like move their head too quick, and they're like, "I didn't see a shadow person."
That's almost exactly what it is. And then there is a shadow cat. Now, shadow cats can mimic a real cat, but they're actually shadows.
Wow.
So it looks like a black cat, but don't trust it.
All right, I'm getting it. Anything can be a shadow, whatever. We're done with that. I want to know about these shadow rats that Georgie was seeing.
He doesn't readdress it.
He doesn't talk about it.
This is the problem with George Noory. He just says things and then doesn't follow up.
Well, he must have talked about it with her at some point, because she does kind of be like, yeah, you did see those, didn't you?
It could have been off air. I'm not sure. I've listened to a few interviews with her. I haven't heard him bring it up.
All right. So anything could be a shadow. These things are dark entities that like feed off of evil feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So let's jump into a first case study for us, Chris. Heidi's
case study, baby.
First shadow person. When did Heidi get into this, man?
Yeah.
Well, the very first experience I had, I actually saw it following a friend of mine in broad daylight. I had no idea what it was I was experiencing. And me and my friend were walking through this park, and I see this hulking thing. It was the head and shoulder shadow being jump behind a bush and go behind a tree, just following us. We reached our destination, turned around to go back, and it did the same thing, followed us all the way back. And I was staying at my friend's house, and I was in college. And when I got to the place that I was staying at, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm seeing here. And I'm a cartoonist, and I drew out the head and shoulder shadow. I'm like, look, I don't know what I saw, but take a look at this thing. I show it to my friend, and I'm thinking she's going to laugh about it. And instead she goes, oh, not that thing again. It's been following me since I was a kid. I don't know what it is.
Oh,
not that thing again.
Not that thing.
Not that thing.
Now,
okay.
That is very atypical for shadow people. The vast majority of stories you hear are what people are in bed or it's late at night.
Right.
I have not actually heard
in the middle of the day.
Yeah, not in the middle of the day.
Okay.
Which makes me think that Heidi's friend had a stalker, and I'm a little concerned about
it. Yeah, that's a little horrifying. But okay. All right. So that is one case study.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to really make any real generalizations at this point.
We'll get to some more. We'll get to some more in a minute. So before we get to more case studies, let's dive more into what shadow people are. So George has a pretty basic question. Are shadow people, and is this Hat Man, are they evil beings?
Have you found that the hat people and the shadow people are all generally evil? I mean, is there any good that comes out of this?
I don't think that there's good that comes out of it. I had some people say, oh, well, Hat Man punched my abusive dad for me. Like, whoa, so now you owe him.
That's intriguing.
So Hat Man, some people are like, oh, he's my guardian because he doesn't scare me, and he just stands watch over me at night. And I'm like, he's looking for a way in. And when you wake up with 3 scratch marks on your body, he found the way. He's very patient, and he will take advantage eventually. And the things that he does to people, it doesn't get advertised fully because it is so dark. It is so desperate.
Hat Man, dude.
Hat Man.
What? Hat Man sounds creepy.
Yeah, so Hat Man is described as a type of shadow that's very akin to a demon, and he's seen wearing a fedora hat, a trench coat, and a 3-piece suit, and actually looks more solid than traditional shadow people.
Okay.
So
nice.
At first,
so he's like a 1950s like G or something.
He is, yeah. Now sometimes he is reported with different hats.
Yeah. Bogey. Trying to pick up a dame.
He has been seen with cowboy hats as well. Sometimes top hats. I think it depends on the person's mood, what hat he's wearing at the time.
Oh, right. So like anger is maybe a little bit more classy and depression's a little bit more like 1950s era, right?
Yeah. What kind of party is he going to that night when he's feasting on your soul?
Yeah, maybe Cowboys anger. That makes a little bit more sense.
That's the thing about Hat Man is that he also gets a lot more physical than shadow people do.
I was going to say the 3 scratches is super creepy, dude. If I woke up in the middle of the night to a giant shadow being wearing a hat and I have scratches on my body, dude, I am probably dying of fright.
It would be terrifying.
I would die of fright. I would have a heart attack right there. Especially after these COVID vaccines.
Anyways, well, that's the thing about Babadook, though, because Babadook is one of the scarier movies I've ever seen. And I think it's because it's just this incorporeal being. Like, you can't stop it. There's nothing you can do, and there's no logic or reason behind it. It's just there, which, much like mental health suffering, Chris, which it is a metaphor for.
I was gonna say, dude, there is a lot of metaphor here.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about depression either.
I don't know. I know we're not supposed to be being skeptical, but this woman has a mild case of schizophrenia, right?
I'm a little worried about her because she sees them everywhere.
She should be medicated. And she's like talking about like all the animals and stuff and beings. And like, I am a little worried that she should be on some kind of like Valium or something.
I didn't want to say it because I never like to diagnose people.
Yeah.
But I am a little concerned by how much she's seeing things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But she's also doing fine. She has a podcast. She has her website. She's not that scared of these things because she's making jokes with George.
No, you're 100%. Maybe that's the right way to deal with schizophrenia. Maybe the chemicals that we've been giving people, that's bupkis, dude. You got to like confront it, right? Like, oh no, the government's after me. Dude, go talk to the government.
Get your own podcast on Coast to Coast AM about the government being after you.
That's right.
It'll be
great.
Right. That's
Make
us when we're
money
older.
From your schizophrenia.
All right, so let's get back to the Hat Man.
Okay, Hat Man.
What are some other things the Hat Man's doing to people?
I don't really want to know, to be honest.
You're gonna find out.
He goes for you physically. He goes for you mentally, emotionally, your health, and he's very physical in raping and abusing and biting and scratching. And, when you feel like you can't take anymore and you're just about to give up, he takes his fist and he punches it into your chest and rips your soul out.
So pretty brutal.
Dude, ripping your soul out is metal.
Yeah.
That's pure metal. Very Spooktober. This is creepy, dude.
He is sitting there
creepy,
scratching you, and then pulls your soul out of your body while you're asleep.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. This is a demon for sure.
This is a straight up demon. And that's his entire goal, Chris, is that he wants your soul.
That's why she was like, Hat Man ain't helping you. You don't mess with Hat Man. Dude, no doubt, dude, for real. And I bet that is a thing Hat Man does, dude. I bet Hat Man goes after people with like daddy complexes, right? And is like, I'm going to make this one sweet, dude. You know what I mean? I bet everything has a little bit of a different taste, right? Anger has a different taste from depression, has a different taste from sadness.
So he's got a palate for
Right.
painful human emotions.
Exactly.
Well, you're probably right. If this thing is real, it probably does feel different or taste different to him.
Yeah, dude. That's headcanon right
He's
there.
like, oh, I need a little bit of depressed soul today.
Yeah, dude. I'm feeling a little wrathy right now.
Let's get a little bit of PTSD. Where are soldier boys at?
Yeah, PTSD. Ooh.
Shadow people in war would be an interesting one that Heidi has not really talked about much. But
that is actually probably one of the places where shadow people are. I mean, well, dude, I bet these things have realms because I'm pretty sure it's Valkyries that control the battlefield.
Oh, so the Valkyries probably wouldn't let the shadow people in.
Right, exactly.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
Exactly.
Excellent. So back to the soul harvesting, Chris, because that's a really important aspect of Batman that we got to get to.
Got to hear more.
They want your soul?
He does, and he says he is the devil himself. And yeah, he's collecting souls. And I've talked to near-death experience experts, and I say, okay, we know about the light at the end of the tunnel for some people, but what about the others that go and have these darker experiences? And they're like, oh, interesting enough, there's a man in a suit and a hat that shows up. I'm like, I know that guy.
Oh, don't like that.
No.
Don't like that.
So apparently, if you don't get to go to heaven, the Hat Man comes to get you.
Right. Yeah. He's the ferryman, dude, for sure.
One of my favorite things I've heard Art talk about a lot on the old episodes is how you're not supposed to go to the light.
Right. Yeah, you got to fight the light.
No, because the light is hell.
Oh, because of flames?
Because the flames. Yeah, you never want to go to the light.
Oh my gosh. I've never heard that one.
Yeah.
I've never heard that one. That's
Art
pretty good.
Brings it up a lot because I think he heard it from someone and it blew his mind, one of his guests.
Loved it, dude. He loved it.
Yeah, he's like, don't go to the light, dude. That's hell. That's all the flames. That's why it's so bright.
Yeah, it's so bright. I don't know, dude. I feel like God radiates light. But to be fair, you do not hear the near-death experiences that send people to hell.
That's true.
You don't really hear about those, and I guarantee you they're out there.
Do you?
I guarantee you that those exist.
I don't know if they do.
I bet they do, man. I mean, the human body is a weird thing.
I know, but
I guarantee you it's not a light every single time in near-death experiences. I bet some people, especially people who are probably super guilty about stuff, I bet they go to a bad place, dude, for sure.
Well, I've always kind of blamed those near-death experiences and other NDE type things on DMT and chemicals being released in the brain. So yeah, I guess
100%.
But I guess it's also possible that while you're dying, you had a bad trip and you had a really negative experience. So
why not? I don't know. Why not, dude? You can have bad trips on DMT. Why couldn't you have a bad trip when a chemical just releases into your brain?
Well, you probably don't want to talk to anyone about that either. Like, yeah, I went to hell when I was in that car crash.
I went straight to hell and got tortured and saw the Hat Man. I swear to God, dude, if I see the Hat Man, I'm going to be terrified.
You're going to see the Hat Man tonight, man.
So terrified.
Just standing in the corner staring at you.
This is not good, dude. This is no bueno. Not liking Hat Man at all. All right, keep going.
All right, so the more skeptical among us, Chris, may say that this is just due to night terrors like me, right?
Okay, all right. So she addresses it.
She knows it. She addresses it. She says, people like me full of shit.
When I got the chance to come on your show and put out there being shadow people and Hat Man, all of a sudden, ooh, it's night terrors and sleep paralysis. I'm like, and they're just so happen to see the same darn thing, a man in a hat and a suit. I'm thinking that that's a bunch of baloney there, George, because, yeah, I think people have nightmares, but not to have these types, these patterns. And yes, there is that element of sleep paralysis. Some people we get that, you're about to wake up and you're groggy, but you're not seeing things,
This is a woman that doesn't know that much about sleep paralysis and night terrors.
What are you talking about, Chris? She's the leading expert in shadow people.
That was That was an unconvincing argument if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, I'm not super sold on that.
Yeah, that wasn't very good. She really should have a better answer. And this is the thing, there needs to be more skepticism in the conspiracy and paranormal world. And I feel like I really attach to the people who talk about that skepticism. You know, again, like Dr. Masters, where he says, not all of these things are abductions. Not all of these things are alien encounters, but some of them are, right? Same thing with the Bigfoot guys, right? The Bigfoot guys were like, yeah, not every one of these is a sighting of Bigfoot, but probably a percentage of them are. Now, we kind of fought back on that a little bit, being like, yeah, there's a chance if Bigfoot doesn't exist that none of these are Bigfoot sightings, right? And this is kind of the same thing with this woman, right? She's just like, none of these are night terrors. And it's like, no, some of them probably are. Now,
yeah.
if you bring me somebody who has 3 scratch marks down their chest and is telling this crazy story, I'm probably going to like look into that one.
Well, and you want to know my biggest issue with it, Chris, too, in terms of making sure that your argument is scoped and your investigation is scoped and not just bringing everything into it, is that she has 9 different types of shadows on her website. It's like, so this is just anything that you see that's creepy in the night is involved in this. Now, the Hat Man thing is a bit different. She's a bit more tailored on that. But then under the Shadow People umbrella, anything and everything could fit into this, right?
Right.
So that one also makes me a bit more skeptical because I'm like, I don't know if you draw lines here or if you're just kind of accepting everything.
Not loving the Shadow People, really loving the Hat Man.
Hat Man, terrifying. And honestly, Shadow People are terrifying. Like if you see one, super scary. It's probably a night terror.
It's a night terror, or you're seeing, you know what I mean? You're just kind of nighttime, right? Mm-hmm. Nighttime's weird.
Nighttime is weird. Well, Chris, back to Shadow People though. So here's the thing about who they're targeting. And I don't know, you're gonna have to tell me if you're in danger or not. They typically go after psychically powerful people.
Oh,
do you consider yourself psychically powerful?
No, not at all.
Okay, I think you're good then.
Okay.
People will reach out to me and say, wow, you know, I probably, because I was doing so many drugs or drinking then, that's why this happened to me. Or I played with a Ouija board, and I'm like, there's nothing that you could have really done that's worth your soul that you've listed here. I'm pretty sure that, it might have attracted this attention. But when these things keep digging at a person, these negative things, it usually is because that person is gifted in some sense, insightful, very much more advanced in this world, to be honest. It's like they may be the siren that alarms and alerts others, like, hey, there's a dark demon hanging on you.
Dang, dude, that's very interesting. And actually, it connects with Stephen King's Dark Tower and a lot of Stephen King's lore that, like, evil does feed off of more psychically powerful people.
Oh, maybe she should collaborate with
a little collab
King.
For sure. She may be taking a lot from Stephen, actually.
Is that where a lot of this is coming from? He wrote the Dark Tower in the 90s, right?
Yeah,
early 2000s. Yeah, that could be actually.
So I mean, some of it is very Stephen King, and like I've always really appreciated that because again, like these things would be greedy, and as we were saying before, these things probably have different tastes, right? And so if you want a really filling meal, right, you want a steak and potatoes, couple of bread rolls, side of asparagus, you're going after the psychically charged individual because there's just a lot there to eat. And it's probably like, mwah, you know, chef's kiss, delicious.
Well, yeah, she's got good lore.
Yeah,
good lore, and that's the least we ask for here is some good lore.
Yeah,
so
good headcanon stuff for sure.
Yeah, you gotta have the good headcanon. So here's the thing about her is that she's had a lot of different experiences, Chris, that are not just Shadow People and Hat Man. She's seen a lot of things.
It's it's a really strange thing. And, a lot of this stuff, I'm sitting here talking about angels, and I've had Jesus encounters, and I'm talking about shadow people, and I've had UFO encounters and whatnot too. It sounds like it's disjointed to some people, but it really is all connected.
It is, yeah.
There's a way to handle these topics.
So she's seen Jesus, she's seen UFOs,
Yeah,
and she's seen shadow people. At one point, she also says that Jesus cured her brain aneurysm on the operating table.
Whoa!
So
Thanks,
that's interesting.
Jesus.
That's interesting.
Do you still have to pay since it was Jesus that cured you?
You shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to.
I don't think you should have to.
You shouldn't have to, dude. Jesus definitely healed people for free. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's what she said. That's the way she described it, is that she was on the operating table and Jesus cured her. And I'm like, are you sure it wasn't the doctor?
This woman has schizophrenia.
Well, Chris, she doesn't, though, because this is a battle for people's souls, is what she says.
I don't doubt that, dude. And I don't doubt anything about the Hat Man, dude. I'm going to start believing in the Hat Man. Really, really like the Hat Man, dude. Terrifying individual. I'm going to tell my kids about Hat Man, and that's going to keep them good, dude. Freaking Babadook. That's scary stuff, man. But, this woman may have schizophrenia.
So, Chris, back to the Hat Man, because I know you love the Hat Man.
Loving the Hat Man.
Do you think he's ever killed anyone?
So it would be do you wither away once you lose your soul?
No, just straight up murdered him.
Oh, just straight up murder. Okay, go.
Has the Hat Man or the Shadow People ever killed someone?
I do believe so.
Oh,
yeah, I have had people tell me how. Well, this is an example that's just so disturbing. A young girl, I believe she was 7 years old, and Hat Man would come nightly and threaten her that he was going to get her. And long story short, mom had locked her in the room because she was having a party and didn't want the little girl coming out and crying about Hat Man being in there. And they went to go check on her, and she was in a bunk bed, and there's 2 slats of wood. And her head was on one side and her body was on the other side of it. Like, there's physically no way possible for her to have done this. The partygoers had to break apart the bed and resuscitate the little girl. And with her first words, she said, "He got me. He said he would." So, yeah, I think he kills.
Holy cow, dude. That's a creepy one.
That's terrifying. Either that's the Hat Man or this is a very abused little girl, but scary nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm scared generally. What is happening to this little girl?
It's kind of messed up.
Super messed up. Don't like it. Don't
Yeah.
like it. Don't mess with kids.
Leave the children alone.
Leave the children alone.
But she did say that the Hat Man was coming after her, apparently. I'm also curious who told that story, because if it was the mom, there's no way that the mom would tell anyone. Like, oh, I locked my daughter in her room so she wouldn't come out during a party. Like, that's a really shitty thing to do.
Yeah, but maybe it was the little girl, when she grew up.
She grew up and now she serves the world by fighting shadow people.
And Hat Man.
That is a great superhero tale. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a Blade,
Mhm.
right? That's good stuff.
It's good stuff. Well, let's get more into this deep lore and taxonomy, Chris. Hat Man versus shadow people. What's the difference? What's going on here?
Yeah, where do they connect?
They seem the same in a way.
Are the Shadow People and the Hat Man one and the same?
No, they are not. I used to call Hat Man the Hat Man Shadow, which is why people kind of confuse them now. But Hat Man is actually something very solid, and he directs the shadow people, and he's actually the boss of them. And there's other beings that work under him, the old hag, the Grim Reaper looking guy, and these small little hooded creatures that are actually aliens with the little perfectly round red glowing eyes. Yeah,
that's like what we saw in the movie Ghost. Remember that? They would come up out of the sewer.
Yes, it's so funny. A lot of people remind me about that movie. I'm like, I bet whoever designed that saw shadow people. So, and again, I want to remind people, go to shadowfolks.com if they've had these experiences.
Shadowfolks.com.
Shadowfolks.com.
That's going to be in the show notes, everyone. So take a look.
I wonder if it's still active.
Shadowfolks.com?
Shadowfolks.com will reroute you to HeidiHollis.com now.
Okay.
So I guess she took down Shadowfolks.com. But HeidiHollis.com, you can also report shadow people.
Yeah.
If you need to.
Right. Of course.
So Hatman, boss daddy of the other shadows.
Yeah.
He seems to be one entity as opposed to a bunch of different shadows. It's like whenever you see Hatman, it's the Hatman. It's the one guy.
The Hatman. Dang, dude. That's quite an honor then. If this guy is like the king of the evil things.
Yeah, you got to be really messed up, I guess, for him to want to feast on you.
Or
very
hungry.
Powerful.
Right.
Or very psychically powerful.
He's kind of the Santa Claus of the shadow world.
More of a Krampus, I think, but yeah.
Krampus.
A bit of a Krampus. So, Chris, do you want to get into some more case studies of shadow people?
Yeah, I got to hear some more.
All right. So we got a caller, John in Toledo, who saw one of these beings as a child.
Oh, caller case studies. I love this.
It's the only way to do it. I love our callers.
I love this.
Hi, George. Hi, Heidi. I want to talk about, it's very strange you're talking about this tonight. I had an incident, and it's been burned in my head. 50 years ago, we were kids, and this was around twilight, and it was in the summertime, and we're playing hide and seek and tag, and I don't know if I noticed this guy or not, but when we went in, our mothers called us in, and we're talking now 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock, it's dark, and I look out my window, we're up in our bedroom, and there's a sidewalk about 40 feet. There's this man, and he's all dark. And he's motioning us with his hand to come down. And I tell my brother and sister, and they think I'm trying to scare them. So they look, and they scream, and we put the window shade down. And I lifted the window shade, and he starts to go across the street. And at this time, my dad was coming home from work. And my dad's car came at him, and it appeared as if he went through him.
Whoa, dude! No wonder that stuck with him for 50 years, though.
That's creepy. So his dad drives
super duper creepy
right through the shadow, and then when his dad comes in, he asks like, "Hey, did you see that guy out there?" And his dad's like, "What guy?"
Yeah, that's good stuff, dude. That's pretty good stuff. I bet that did stick with him.
Kind of freak out a little bit, especially as a kid, you know?
Yeah. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good case study. So other people are seeing shadow people.
Other people are seeing shadow people, and they've been around for a long time.
This isn't all just in the head of Miss Heidi.
This is not in one person's head.
Yeah.
It's close to that with her taxonomy, but we're not quite there yet.
Right.
Now we have a really good one, Chris.
Okay.
And this comes from a rancher man.
Oh, dude. You don't mess with ranchers and tails, dude.
We do not.
I used to own a piece of property. I had a ranch southwest of Tucson. So I've got this property. It has all this activity on it. I had a horse trainer come to live on the property. She kept telling me, she was having issues with people, hearing things walk up and down the hall of this trailer that we were putting on. One evening, she went to bed, I don't know, about 1, 2 in the morning. And after about 20 minutes, just falling asleep, she said she was awakened by this big, dark figure wearing a hat across the room. This thing threatened her and said, you're coming with me.
Jeez.
And she argued with it and the whole thing. At any rate, he started picking up stuff and throwing it around the room, and actually picked this clock, the star clock, up and threw it like a frisbee at the wall of this trailer, and it actually stuck in the wall.
Whoa! He threw it that hard, huh?
Yeah, he threw it that hard, and it was a big black figure.
But this entity did not hurt her. It didn't hurt her at all?
No, did not hurt her. No. That's what's really odd about this thing is, she would tell me that she would go to sleep and she could feel things pulling her into the bed.
That's a creepy one.
That's the creepiest one, yeah.
That's a very creepy case study.
Yeah.
Don't like that one. But it doesn't sound like it's probably the Hat Man. It's probably a shadow person, right?
Well, he said that it had a hat, and I think the other thing that leans to this being the Hat Man is that it was getting really aggressive.
Right.
So that is a commonality in Hat Man stories, is that it's not just there was a shadow there. It was this creature like physically attacked me. It tackled me. There are some people who even say, according to Heidi, that they wrestled with the Hat Man as it was like trying to take it down to the floor or something like that. Like,
not trying to ever wrestle with the Hat Man.
dude,
ever.
I want to meet the guy that wrestles with the Hat. Like, you see a shadow being and you try to wrestle it down.
That's a BAMF, dude.
Yeah. It's not the best. Now, you know who else saw a shadow person, Chris, later in their life?
Who?
Art Bell.
Ooh, well, we know about the shadow rats, but he's seen a shadow person.
So Art Bell, I believe it was in 2015 when he had a different show called Midnight in the Desert that was only on for a couple months. He had an episode about shadow people where he brought on not Heidi Hollis, it's another shadow person expert, because there's apparently a lot of these people. And he talked about how freaked out he was because he just saw a shadow person a couple nights before. And that's why he brought this guy on. And that it was just this being standing there, and Art was so freaked out, like he immediately went to go grab his gun, basically. And he was very shook by this, but he did see one in the evening.
Wow.
In his own house.
All right. So another case study.
Yeah, another case study there. And Art had said, I always talk about this stuff. I never see anything. This was the first time I actually saw something.
Wow, dude. I bet it did mess him up a little bit for sure.
The entire interview, I almost cut that one for us today, but he was so shook during the interview. I don't think it is actually that good of an episode because he's having a hard time maintaining composure because he's freaked out.
Right.
That also may lend credence to Art becoming a bit more of a crank when he was older, because that's a few years before he died, and he seemed to be losing it slightly, but that's okay.
No, didn't you play that for us?
No, that's a different one.
Oh, okay.
Dude, Midnight in the Desert is a mess.
Yeah.
Those 2015 episodes, I don't know what was happening in his life.
He's just losing it.
We need to invite one of his children on and talk to them about what was happening.
There, that would be incredible.
One of his first son does interviews.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, we'll see. But before we get to any of that, Chris, we got one more caller who has a bit of advice for us on how to deal with these negative spirits and how we can defend ourselves. We have to cut them with swords.
I wanted to introduce into the conversation the idea of using swords and knives, dull, okay, not sharp swords, not sharp knives, in terms of cutting away entities from the body. You can cut away entities from around your body. You can also charge the swords, if you feel like there's an entity in the room, and point the sword at the entity. Entities will attach, like, say, at the base of your spine, or at the base of your neck. And so you can take a dull kitchen knife and tap around the base of your neck. And it's great, like if you're hiking in the wilderness. I always take a sword,
This guy goes hiking in the woods and brings a sword.
That's a madman. That's a madman. He's mad.
He called in and talked for 5 minutes. I'm not even kidding.
God.
I had to cut so much out of that.
He's a madman. I can't believe he's just going to his kitchen with a butter knife and just like tacking the back of his neck, just like taking away the evil spirits. Taking away the evil spirits.
What would you do if you were hiking on a trail? Because I go hiking a lot out here and saw a guy with a sword.
I'm not feeling good.
Or just waving it around himself. You just see a guy with a sword waving it around.
I'm going the other direction very quickly.
Well, apparently that's a good way to defend yourself. So just have a butter knife next to your bed and you can cut these entities away. Yeah.
Start carrying a butter knife and a sword, and you're gonna be good against.
He said he learned
this and shadow people.
He said he learned this from his karate teacher, I guess.
Stop it! I can't do it. I won't do it.
It's great. It's great. Well,
Chris, I'm not allowing that to happen.
That will be the end of our Shadow People episode, a Spooktober special. Tell me, on 1 to 5 top hats, what'd you think of it?
I really like Hat Man. Not so big a fan of Miss Heidi Hollis. And Shadow People is an interesting idea. She's milking it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
She's milking the crap out of it. And so I I'm torn, dude. I want to give it like a 1 and a 4 because like Hatman is sticking with me.
Yeah.
Hatman is sticking with me, dude. I'm working the Hatman into the lore as I speak. But like some of the Heidi Hollis stuff, dude, just not a fan of it, man. Be a little
I
bit
would
more
agree.
skeptical.
I would agree. I would say maybe like 1 for Heidi Hollis and then 4 for the caller stories, right? Because
Well, I like the color stories, but dude, I did also really like Hatman, and some of the lore around Hatman is really good, and I will be playing with it and how to fit Hatman into the world, dude.
well, and that's what I like most about the Hatman episodes because there's a lot of them, honestly, and the callers always have interesting stories of when they saw some sort of shadow or some sort of hat creature, and those are very spooky, right? Because they're genuinely terrifying stories that people have. But yeah, Heidi, I think she saw that something caught on because a lot of people see weird stuff at night. And she's definitely milking it. She has multiple books about this. She has a bunch of different types of hat or shadow people that you can see. And it's like at some point, if everything's a shadow person, then nothing's a shadow person.
Right. Exactly.
Nail it down.
Exactly, dude. And like, and these are the people that give conspiracy and paranormal a bad name, dude, because they really are like the Barnum and Baileys, right? There's a sucker born every minute. And like Miss Hollis gonna get her money. So anyways, that's all I got.
She is definitely getting paid. So,
but Hatman, good stuff.
Hatman's good.
Hatman, good stuff. Very creepy. Very happy to have it in Spooktober.
I may go watch Babadook tonight. We'll see what happens.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that now, dude. This is as spooky as I'm getting. So here's a little background information. I've been doing Spooktober for years. And Spooktober for me was when I would read scary stories. So I've started out with the compendiums of both H.P. Lovecraft and Edgar Allan Poe. And so every October, that is all I read is nothing but Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft. And that was Spooktober for me. So I will be adding Hatman to Spooktober, but not tonight because I'm already scared.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing back about whether or not you see Hatman tonight, Chris.
I do. I really, really hope not.
Just depends.
I'm praying that I do not see.
We might have just opened the door by talking about him and saying his name. So it's kind of like a Bloody Mary
so
thing.
Many times. So many times.
Yeah.
We just said Hatman so many times.
Well, this has been another episode of Spooktober from Coast to Coast PM. Come back and join us next week where we will have another spooktacular episode for you. I'm thinking demons next time, Chris. A little Father Malachi Martin.
Heck yeah.
Kids.
All spooky all the time. Later.